When you already thought that integrating Power BI with Xero was an impossible challenge, here am I, and I'll tell you that it is entirely possible, and you can do it entirely yourself, and there are no additional licenses needed. That's right, we'll be building a custom connector today. This is a fairly advanced topic, but it has some advantages over third-party solutions. For example, you have complete control over your data, you have complete control over how you capture the data, and you can even optimize some steps in between, so you only get the data that you need, and this should make your refreshes quicker. So obviously you have all the data under your control. It's not passing any third-party intermediaries. So there are definitely some plus sides, and you'll learn how to create your custom connector. Maybe that's the only way to integrate another system. So yeah, stay tuned and learn how to do that. What we are going to do today is we'll build a custom connector for Power BI. Unfortunately, this is only for Power BI on Windows, but this is kind of an advanced topic. And there is unfortunately no way around it due to how the authentication works with Xero, and yeah, that's just something you'll need to do. So yeah, without further ado, there are some steps. You can see on the screen there are quite a lot of steps here, which we will need to take care of, each one separately. So yeah, let's just get started. Now, custom connectors are custom code, and every custom code, no matter how secure and how sandbox it is, can pose a security risk, either to your privacy or to the security of your computer and your servers around you. So enabling custom connectors is kind of lowering the security of Power BI a bit, but since we will only be using our connectors, which we know that we built ourselves, I think there's no risk in enabling that. So let me just show you how that's done. Now I'm in Power BI and I will click on File, select Options and Settings. I'll click on Options again. In this menu that shows up, I will click on Security. Yep, that's right. And here under Data Extensions, I'll click on Not Recommended. This already sounds scary, but trust me, it's okay as long as you only install what you create. So now when you click that, just click on OK and you're done. First step over. Now, if you stay this long, then chances are that you already have VS Code installed. But anyway, let me just quickly show you. So to install VS Code, just type in VS Code. This is the first link. Take the first link, click on Download for Windows, and then go through the installation steps. That's all it takes. All right, so after we have VS Code installed, we need to install the PowerQuery SDK. This is the extension in VS Code that will help us develop and test our code before importing it into Power BI. So I'm already inside VS Code, and here's what I'll do. I'll just type in PowerQuery SDK, and here's the first link. And you can see I already have it installed, but for you, just click on Install here, and this should do the trick. All right, great job on making it so far. This will be our first touch point with Xero. So far we've only been preparing our local development environment, but now we are actually gonna touch Xero. So let me just show you what needs to be done. So if I go to Google and type in Xero Developer, and click here on the first link, which says Xero Developer Platform, click on Docs and Getting Started. Here you get a really nice step-by-step guide on how to build any integration with Xero. And what we are going to do is click here on Add your OAuth 2.0 application. So when I click that, if you're not logged into Xero yet, you'll be prompted to do so. But as you can see, I already have 2 testing applications, and I'll just create a new one for you to see. So click here on New App, and give this app a name, and I'll name it YouTube Testing Power BI. Okay, that'll do. And now you need to click on Mobile or Desktop App. Okay, that's fine. Now under company or application URL, you can just type in whatever you want. I'll just type in my website. But here under redirect URI, you need to type in this thing. I already typed it. How you can get this redirect URI, I'll tell you more about why you actually need this later when we're implementing the code. So describing OAuth more in details. But this is something that's required, and you can get it by going to Microsoft documentation. Just open a new tab and type in PowerQuery SDK. Click on the first link. So click here on walkthroughs, click on OAuth tutorials and select GitHub. Now that you are in here, you will see this node, and this is the URL, this is the string that you need to copy. So select everything, copy it, go back to Xero, and under redirect URI, just paste in whatever you copied from Power BI. Now click on I have read and agree to yada yada, and click on create app. Now, once you have that, you don't actually need to do anything here. Just click on configuration, and here's the client ID that you'll need later. So when I say, just go get your client ID, this is the string that you need to copy. So just click on copy here, and it should get copied to your clipboard. Great, one more step done. All right, so this is where things get a little bit more involved, let's say. So I'm on Xero Docs, and you can get to the same page here by clicking on Docs and clicking on API reference. And as you can see here in the sidebar, you have this accounting API. And this is just one of the many APIs that Xero provides. You see, you have Assets API, Files API, Projects API, and everything that Xero provides is available here within APIs. So whatever you need, you can get by using this documentation. Let's say I'm interested in getting contacts. This is available within the accounting API. So to get the contacts, I need to call this URL, this endpoint, what it's called from Xero API. So, but before calling it, I need to provide Xero a security token. And to get the security token, I need to use this OAuth thing that we've been quietly setting up in the previous steps. But before getting the security token, we need to specify. So to get the security token, we need to call another Xero API that will get us the security token. But this API will require us to use our username and password. This is called an OAuth flow. And before that, before even asking for username and password, we need to specify what we are requesting the security token for. And this is what is called defining scopes. So we can define the scope. We can say, hi Xero API, please create a security token for me, which will allow me to get contacts, which will allow me read-only access to contacts. And let's say I'm interested in invoices as well. So to do that, we need to define scopes. And scopes are available, I believe, somewhere here. So if we go to Docs and click on Getting Started again, and click here on review the scopes your app will need. Here are the organization scopes. So once again, we're here under accounting API, and you can also see other APIs. But for invoices, let's say I need to use accounting.transactions. This is one of the scopes. So what you need to do is open up a text document and just copy and paste all the scopes that you want. So if you want to get invoices, you should copy this accounting.transactions. Actually, this scope actually allows us to add and delete invoices as well, but we don't actually want that, so be sure to only copy the read scopes. So this accounting.transactions.read will allow us to read all invoices, bank transactions, credit notes, and everything that's written here. So we definitely need this one. I'll just copy and paste that one here. So this is the first one, and then I'll add a new line, and let me see, I need my contacts as well. So accounting.contacts is another scope, and accounting.contacts.read is exactly what I want as well. So I'll just copy and paste that here. So make sure to copy and paste all the scopes that you want and that you need here into a text document, and just keep them somewhere safe, because we're going to use that later. All right, so we can finally start writing the code, right? I decided to make it a bit easier for you. So what we're going to do instead is just go to GitHub, download my code, and edit the parameters that need to be edited. If you're interested in learning how this code works, there will be additional videos just to explain this code. So what we're going to do instead is just go to GitHub, go to this link, so github.com, and type out this link, then click on this code and click download zip. Now what this does is it will download all the code that I wrote for you. Just drag this file to a location where you want to extract it, double click it, and click on extract all. Then I will click on show extracted files. Yep, I'll just keep that. And now I can just open this folder, right click on it, and click on open with code. If you don't see this option, you can still go to Visual Studio Code and then search for this folder in your File Explorer, and at the end just click on Select Folder. And now, as you can see, you have all the same project files. So the first thing we need to do is we need to replace this client ID. So I'll just delete that. So I'll go back to Xero, select the application that I created, go to Configuration, and click on Copy where I see my client ID, and I'll just go back and paste that in. So this is my client ID pasted in. And then the second thing I need to do is the second thing you need to do is change these required scopes. So as you can see, there are some scopes already there, and you need to keep the first 4. So we need to keep the OpenID, profile, offline access, email, but then you can see I already entered this accounting transactions.read. This will give you access to all the invoices. So add any additional scopes that you need and you should be good to go. Then just save this file, go up and delete this bin folder, just delete it. And then click on PowerQuery SDK, wait for it to load, then click on evaluate current file. And what this will do is it will just regenerate this bin folder for you. And if you see this error, export was exported multiple times, that's perfectly fine. So yeah, congratulations, you just built yourself your very first Xero connector. All right, you're making so good progress. Just stick with me for a couple of minutes. So yeah, you have this .mez file and this is perfect. And now we're gonna just copy and paste this file into Power BI's folder and we'll be able to use it. So what I'll do is just right click on this file and click on, where is it? Reveal in File Explorer. And this will open my Explorer where I am able to see this file, and I'll just click on Control C and I'll now go to my documents. Okay, so I'll go here and I'll click on documents. Now, your documents can be on different places. Mine are inside OneDrive, but yours can be locally. Whatever your documents are, just try to click on these documents. And then inside this folder, try to find a folder called Power BI Desktop. The naming is very important. So capital P, capital B, capital I, and then capital D. And all the spaces needs to be present as well. And then when you find it, if you don't find it, just create it. And inside this folder, you should see a folder called Custom Connectors. Open it and just use Control V to paste your connector in here. Now let's open Power BI and click on Get Data. And if you did everything correctly, just start typing Xero. And you should see your Xero connector beta and custom here. So if you see this, then congratulations, you are already way more than halfway done. So now what you can do is you can actually just close this window, open your Power Query editor. What we'll do now is I will open up my advanced editor. I'll just go here, new query, blank query, and I'll rename this query to Xero tenant ID. Yep, let's just make it Xero tenant ID. So first thing we need to do is we need to get the company that we will be working with. So to do that, I'll click on advanced editor and I will start typing, instead of the string, I'll type Xero connector.contents and I'll just make and I'll just call this function without any parameters. Let me show you what this does. So I can click on done. And now it asks me to specify how to connect, and I'll just click on edit credentials and I'll click on sign in. I'll just resize this window to make it a bit bigger. And now I will sign in with my username and password. I need to select my organization. Now I already tried this before, so it says that my organization is already connected and I'm connected to this demo company. So I'll just leave that as it is. But in your case, just select the organization that you want to connect to. And I'll just go back and click on continue with one organization. Okay, that sounds fine. So I'll click on connect. And now what this does is, let me just click on this record. It returns our tenant ID. It looks like we successfully connected to Xero API and we retrieved our tenant ID. Perfect, this is exactly what we need. Now, this is still a record, but the name of this variable is Xero tenant ID, so we just need to extract this tenant ID. To do that, you can just use the record accessor, just type in square brackets and start typing tenant ID. Press this checkbox, and you can see that we extracted the string that we need. Perfect. Okay, moving on to actually getting the data from Xero. Just create a new query, make it blank query, and rename this to invoices, Xero invoices. Okay, and let me go and click on advanced editor and start typing Xero connector.contents again. And inside here, you have to enter the endpoint that you want to connect to. In my example, this is invoices. And where I got this is I just went back to Xero documentation. I found the documentation for invoices, and here's the URL that I want to use. So you can use any of the other URLs that are specified here. But okay, we are here now and we have this endpoint. I can just add a comma and I will add my second parameter, which is Xero tenant ID. So this function is made to be as user-friendly as possible. So it just takes the endpoint. This acts pretty much like the web.contents function, which you already know, but instead of specifying the object with all the headers, you just need to specify the tenant ID and things will just work for you. So I'll just go ahead and click on done. And as you can see, perfect, we received our invoices. So now I can click on list, click on to table, click on OK, and I'll just expand this. Will not use original column names as prefix. I'll just click on OK, and you can see we have a list of different things here. So perfect. This is data from Xero. If you're happy with that, you can just go ahead and click on close and apply, and you can start making something out of it. So I'll just add a card, and I will click on Xero invoices, and I will use invoice ID. I'll just drag and drop it here. And yeah, it gives me first Xero invoice ID, but I'll just change that to count. So it looks like I have 68 invoices. Let me try to do distinct. Yeah, it's the same. Okay, so it looks like I have 68 invoices here, which is fine. So I will just go ahead and I can now go ahead and save this file. And that brings me to the last part of this tutorial. Okay, so now that I have everything done, I can go ahead and just click on publish. And let's see what this does. And I'll select my workspace. You can select whatever workspace works for you. Okay, looks like the publish was successful, so I can click on open. And I can see it's fine, it's working on app.powerbi.com, but we're actually not done yet. If I go to this ellipsis menu and click on view semantic model, but if I go to file and settings, it says you can schedule refresh for this semantic model because the following data sources currently don't support refresh. Data source for query 1. Oh my God, what should I do next? Well, it turns out that custom connectors are not bundled with PBIX files when you publish them to PowerBI.com. So unfortunately, what we will need to do next is install a Power BI gateway, and this will allow us to schedule the refresh. So what is Power BI Gateway? Power BI Gateway is a piece of software that actually acts as a gateway. So it can access the resource you are trying to connect to. In our case, this is Xero, or it could be an ERP system or CRM system that runs somewhere where it can access this resource. And what it does is it initiates conversation with PowerBI.com, so there are no issues with firewalls or anything, and it registers itself as a data gateway. And when Power BI tries to refresh the data, it's actually this data gateway that provides the data. So it connects to the source of data, downloads it, and provides it to PowerBI.com. In this case, it doesn't really make sense to have a gateway, but unfortunately, that's the only way I found it working. So yeah, that's the thing here. In order to enable scheduled refresh for this report, you'll need a Power BI gateway. Power BI gateway doesn't need to run on a full-blown server. It can be your personal computer running this software, as long as it's online every time Power BI tries to refresh this data. So if you set up a scheduled report to refresh 5 times a day, make sure your computer runs for at least these 5 times in a day, otherwise the report refresh will fail. So installing Power BI Gateway is actually really simple. You just go to powerbi.com and click on download and click on data gateway. And now here you have two options, and I'll go for download personal mode. Personal mode is more meant if you are the sole person who are working on this report. So if you have multiple people connecting to the same gateway, meaning multiple developers connecting to the same gateway. So once the data is on PowerBI.com, it doesn't matter, the gateway can be offline as well, but it just matters when you're authoring the report, when you're editing it in PowerBI.com. So if there are going to be more people connecting to this gateway, then make sure to download the standard mode. If it's only going to be you developing the reports, then personal mode is perfectly fine. Both are free, both work with all sorts of licenses. So yeah, I'll just use this one, but if you're interested, you can learn more here online. So now I can see that my data gateway has been downloaded, so I can just click it and it'll install here. So you can just keep the default location, click this I accept the terms and click on install. Okay, looks like the installation has been successful. Now we need to enter your username and password for to use this on-premises data gateway. So I'll just enter my email here, and you can click here on sign in options and click here use my default web browser. And now I can click on sign in, and this will open up your browser if it's not already opened. And as you can see, I'm already signed in here, so I can just click on this one and it says authentication complete. That's perfectly fine. So I'll go back to my on-premises data gateway and just wait for the procedure to complete. Okay, it says this gateway is online and ready to be used. When it comes to configuring this on-premises data gateway, there's only one thing you need to consider. So since we're using custom connectors, we need to go here down to connectors menu, and you need to make sure that custom data connectors are enabled, and you should see your Xero connector listed here. If that's not the case, make sure the path is set correctly. But I found this box to be acting a bit weirdly from time to time. So if Power BI Data Gateway insists on another path, just don't argue with it. Go to Explorer, open this folder that Power BI that the gateway is looking for, and just copy and paste your .mez file there. And then at the end, you should see this Xero connector. If you don't see the Xero connector, you're going to have problems. So it's really important that you see this here. And then what you need to do is just click on Publish again. Click on Save, click on Replace. I'll click on Open Test Xero Report, ellipsis, and click on View Semantic Model, and click on File and Settings. And now I can see the error has disappeared, but another one appeared. So we're getting somewhere. It looks like the Power BI has registered the data gateway. If your error doesn't go away, there's a little link that says discover connections or something. Make sure to click that, and then try to refresh the page after it finishes loading. So if you've done everything correctly, if you see your Xero connector here in the data gateway, then you should see this data gateway on cloud connections option. What you should see as well is this data source credentials. And now you can click on edit credentials, click on OAuth, select privacy level, I'll set it to organizational, sign in. And that looks really, really promising. So now I'll just enter my username and password here, and I'll click on login, and that seems to be working. So it says one connected organization. This is just fine. So I'll just leave it as it is, and I'll click on continue with one organization. And it says Xero connector data source updated. It looks like we have done everything correctly. Now I can go back to my report, click on ellipsis, click view semantic model, and I can click on refresh and refresh now. And Power BI should start loading. You can see this little circle spinning, and you can see the time has been changed, and this means that our report has been refreshed successfully. Congratulations, you've done everything correctly.